Hi Year 10, this is lesson 1 of the new unit that we're going to do, which is called Ecology. So what I'd like you to do is watch this video. At points I'm going to ask you to pause and have a think about some answers, and then we'll go from there. And I've also posted on Google Classroom a Quizlet for you to have a look at as well. Okay, hope you find it useful. There are millions of species on planet Earth, and we do not live in isolation. Organisms need things from their environment, and other organisms will need that as well in order to survive and reproduce. So we need to understand a bit about the interactions of living things on our planet. So what we're going to do today is look at some keywords, because there's lots of keywords in this section, and look at the interactions of communities in what we call living organisms, which is biotic factors, and non-living factors, not non-living parts, which are called abiotic factors. So let's have a look at a few keywords first. A habitat is the place where an organism lives. For example, here is a river. A frog might live in this river, and that is its habitat. When we talk about a population, it is all the organisms of one species living in a habitat. For example, African elephants living in this particular habitat. All the populations of organisms that live and interact in a habitat form a community. So you can see in this picture there are many different species and they are interacting, and therefore they form a community. And when we put all of this together with the non-living parts, so a community of living organisms within the non-living parts of the environment, that then forms what we call an ecosystem. Now, these animals and plants and other species within the ecosystem, they're going to interact, and they depend on each other for resources, so whether that be food or other resources. And this means that all organisms are what we call interdependent, so they depend on each other. So here's a useful graphic to look at. So on the outside we've got what we call the abiotic factors, so things like water, the wind, the sun, the soil and the rocks, and then within that you've got a population of fish. So you can see the fish here, and you've got populations of water lilies, and those populations interact with one another and they form a community, and that's a community of all living organisms. So there we go, frogs as well, snails, bulrushes, and the whole thing, when we look at the biotic and abiotic factors, so biotic is the living part and abiotic is the non-living part, and when they all combine together in a community, that's known as an ecosystem. So just to remind you, so abiotic factors are the non-living parts and biotic factors are the living parts of the environment, habitat or ecosystem. What I'd like you to do is draw out this table, please. So you're going to have to pause the video. Okay, so in the now to decide which are biotic factors and which are abiotic factors. So just a reminder, abiotic factors are the non-living parts and biotic factors are the living parts. So again, you're going to have to pause. Okay, and so here are the answers. So again, you might want to pause just to check your answers. So the next question is, can you remember what each of the keywords means? So again, on a piece of paper or on your book, if you've got your book, then I would like you to write down the definitions. And yes, you are going to have to pause again. And here are the answers. So the next thing is I've got the keywords on the left and I've got the meanings on the right. So I'd like you again just to pause it and think which are the correct answers. And there we go, there are the answers. Okay, so I'd like you to now go back to Google Classroom, and I've got a Quizlet link there for you for revising these keywords. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you soon.